Hello, students. I'm going to be going over the understanding translation notes with you. I'm going to throw it out there. I know this is awkward. I don't like the sound of my own voice when I hear this recording, but this is the best way to do this, and it'll be a learning curve for both of us. I first did it without using headphones, and it was terrible. It was hard to hear me. My hand kept hitting the mic, so it was all this interference. So now I'm using headphones, which I now realize that you can hear me every time I take a breath. So you're just going to have to get over that, and I will too. So anyway, let's move on. All right, so this is our understanding translation notes that we started on Friday. Remember, translation is a form of transformation, and transformation is a change. And since this is about geometric figures, it's going to be a change in position or size. We talked about how a translation will just slide the image to someplace else. The orientation will stay the same from pre-image to image, and pre-image is what you will start with, and image is what you will get in the end. We did this really long problem. For example 2, we verified that the figures were congruent by proving that all the sides were congruent and all the angles were congruent. I should say that all the corresponding sides were congruent and all the corresponding angles were congruent. And because all corresponding parts were congruent, we were able to state that trapezoid ABCD was congruent to trapezoid A prime, B prime, C prime, D prime. Then I talked with you about how you want to look for the words right, left, up, and down. If they tell you to go to the right, that means you add. If they tell you to go to the left, you subtract. If they tell you to go up, it's adding. If they tell you to go down, it's subtracting. It's very similar to your number lines or your x-axis and y-axis. If you think about it, the x-axis to the right is positive, to the left is negative, and on the y-axis, up is positive and y is negative. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk you through example 3 in one video. Example 4 will be a separate video, and example 5 will be another video. And then after that, we will go through BellWorks 17a and then worksheet 17. So starting with example 3, it's asking us to translate quadrilateral JKLM 7 units to the right and 6 units up. Then verify that the pre-image is congruent to the image. The part where it says verify, that's where all that writing comes in, and we'll worry about that later. So let's first look at where it says 7 units to the right and 6 units up. So let's highlight 7 units to the right. You should underline it. And highlight 6 units up. So the translation will look like, since it's to the right, adding 7. And since it's up, adding 6. We will add 7 to your x-coordinates, and we'll add 6 to the y-coordinates. Please remember to write small, because there is a lot of writing involved in these. All right, so we need to find our original ordered pairs. So we're going to have to find the ordered pairs for J, K, L, and M. So J is at -6, -2. K, -1, -2. L, -1, -4. And M, -6, -4. Above this, we're going to just state what we're going to do. So in other words, above all the x-coordinates, let's put +7, so we're going to add 7 to each x-coordinate. And then above the y-coordinates, put +6, because we're going to add 6 to each of the y-coordinates. What I'd like you to do is put an arrow. It's pointing from the pre-image to the image. So in other words, from J to J prime, K to K prime, L to L prime, and M to M prime. So J prime. To find J prime, we will take -6 plus 7, which is 1. -2 plus 6, which is 4. Now you could also do 7 minus 6 and 6 minus 2. Either way would work fine, and it doesn't matter. As long as you do the math correctly, as long as you keep, if it says minus, that means negatives and so forth. As long as you don't mess that up, you will be fine to go either direction. So K prime. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. K prime. I'm going to take -1 plus 7, or 7 minus 1, which would be 6. -2 plus 6, or 6 minus 2, either one, which would be 4. For L prime, -1 plus 7, or 7 minus 1, either one, which is 6. -4 plus 6, or 6 minus 4, which is 2. And then last, M prime, -6 plus 7, which is 1. -4 plus 6, which is 2. So now we have the ordered pairs for our prime figure. And we're going to go ahead and plot these. We're going to plot them, and then you should connect them with your straight edge. Now, when I say you should connect them with your straight edge, that's because on Friday you should have gotten the hard copy of the notes, and we started these notes on Friday. So you should have a hard copy, and you should be able to complete the notes on that hard copy. For those who were absent on Friday, you would need to take the notes from Schoology and upload it into Notability and complete the notes using Notability. So here we go. J prime is at 1, 4. K prime is at 6, 4. You should label those J prime, K prime. L prime is at 6, 2. Label that L prime. And M prime is at 1, 2. That's M prime. Use your straight edge to connect. I'm going to make the lines a little thicker just so it's easier to see it. You could do that as well. You don't have to, as long as you have the lines to begin with. That's what I would suggest. Oh, and just so you know, I always have it on this, the third one from the right. So I guess the third smallest, you could say, when I do my notes. Just so you know. All right, so now let's double check. We moved 7 to the right and 6 units up. So let's go from point L and up to L prime to see if we went 7 units to the right and 6 units up. So I'm going to count over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So did we go 7 to the right and 6 units up? We sure did. So L prime is 7 units to the right and 6 units up from L. And we could do that for each one, but to save time, we're not going to. You could count yourself just to be on the safe side. And I would suggest counting, if you can, your own, when like for a bell work and whatever. All right, so let's put a line across here. Because now we have to do the fun part where we verify everything. And yes, I was being sarcastic when I said it was fun. Sorry, I'm just trying to get my line straight. Okay. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to verify that all the sides are congruent. Well, if you look at your original figure, JK is 5 units, KL is 2 units, LM is 5 units, JM is 2 units. If you go to your prime figure, JK is 5, then we've got 2, 5, and 2. So the corresponding sides are congruent lengths. So this is how we would write this. The length of JK equals the length of J prime K prime, which equals 5 units. Therefore, JK, put the line above it to show that it is a line segment, is congruent to J prime K prime. I'm going to zoom in a little bit so it's easier to see. Next will be KL. So the length of KL equals the length of K prime L prime, which equals 2 units. Therefore, side KL is congruent to K prime L prime. LM. The length of LM is equal to the length of L prime M prime, which equals 5 units. Therefore, LM is congruent to L prime M prime. One more. We've got, you could put MJ or JM. It is completely up to you. It's the same thing. I'm going to use JM. So the length of JM equals the length of J prime M prime, which equals 2 units. Therefore, JM is congruent to J prime M prime. Okay, we just proved that all our corresponding sides are congruent. Now we have to go back and prove that all the corresponding angles are congruent. So I'm going to put another line here. All right, angles. Well, if you look at these figures make rectangles, and each angle, since it's going along the grid lines, is 90 degrees. So instead of doing it like we did up here in example 2, like we just did we did measure of angle A equals the measure of angle A prime, which equals 90, and then stated that those were congruent. Instead of doing it that way and just doing each separate letter, because all of the angles are the same measurement, we're going to list that all of them are equal, and they're all equal to 90, and then we'll list all of them are congruent. So watch what I do here. So the measure of angle J equals the measure of angle J prime, which equals the measure of angle K, which equals the measure of angle K prime, which equals the measure of angle L, which equals the measure of angle L prime, which equals the measure of angle M, which equals the measure of angle M prime. Now, I kind of ran out of room, so I'm going to make this a little smaller. That way I have enough room at the end to state that, make this a lowercase m, that all of the angles equal 90 degrees. They all measure 90 degrees. And because they all measure 90 degrees, I can now state that they are all congruent. So, therefore, angle J is congruent to angle J prime, which is congruent to angle K, which is congruent to angle K prime, which is congruent to angle L, which is congruent to angle L prime, which is congruent to angle M, which is congruent to angle M prime. Well, what we did there was we proved that all the corresponding angles were congruent. So up here, all the corresponding sides are congruent. Down below, all the corresponding angles are congruent. So therefore, all corresponding parts are congruent. Now remember, you're not going to have to do this for every problem, but you do need to understand to verify that they're congruent. This is what you'd have to do. Prove that all corresponding parts are congruent. So, we would state that all corresponding parts are congruent. Therefore, rectangle JKLM is congruent to rectangle J prime, K prime, L prime, M prime. Sorry, I'm going to write that again. Kind of messed up there. And that is it for example 3. If you have any questions on what we did, and we're not going to be doing all of that work for the rest of them. For the bell work, all you'll be doing for the bell work is everything we did up here and then here. So all the extra stuff you won't be doing. So you don't have to worry about that. We just needed to do that for example 2 and example 3. If you have any questions, feel free to email me, contact me. I will get back to you as soon as I can. Let me know. All right, thanks.